Hello everyone, thank you all for joining me today. We're going to be talking about how to implement inline CSS. Now, if you haven't seen my other tutorials, CSS is cascading style sheets. You use CSS on HTML properties in order to change the color, to change the style of the element. So let me show you exactly what I mean. Before we start, if you don't understand or know what HTML is or CSS, HTML is hypertext markup language. I want you to Google learn HTML or Google learn CSS. These are the core principles, the core makeup for the internet. When you go to a website, it is basically made up of HTML or CSS. So I want you to learn those in case you don't know what they are. But anyhow, let's look. I'm going to show you how to use inline CSS today, and this is going to be, it should be quick. It shouldn't be too long. Anyhow, if you are familiar with HTML properties, say for instance, if you wanted to change the text, I'm going to give you an example of the text that we're seeing right now. Okay, what we're going to change is, let me see here. Say for instance that I want to change this paragraph. I want to change the color of this paragraph. Okay, instead of changing the entire website's CSS, you have a defined space where you want to change. Okay, let's go back here and say that I want to change it to red. Okay, so we're going to use an HTML property, div, and what you're going to use is style. That is the identifier that you must use before you can start adding CSS to this particular paragraph. So if I don't care if it's a P, if it's P for paragraph, or div, you want to add style to anything. Like if it's an image that you have that is embedded that you want to add style to, maybe you want to place a border around it, whatever it may be, you must use this keyword style. This specifically identifies or allows the parser to know that you are using that you're going to begin adding style or using elements, CSS elements. So that's what style means. Anytime you use style, that's for CSS elements. So what type of CSS elements that we can use for this particular property? We can position it, we can add color to it, color brown, and always remember to use this semicolon. After you use a semicolon, you can add more elements. Say for instance, if we want to have a border, 1 pixel, solid, and the color would be red. Okay. Say if you want padding, you want space around this area. And always once you use a tag like div, make sure you close it where you want the code to stop. So you use the forward slash in front of the div, and that will close off the code from from affecting any other piece of code that you have here. So this is all inline CSS styling without the block, without using it in a different file. You see, usually we will use CSS in a different file. For here, we're defining it within the post. We're not using the block. We're not using a different file. We're not using a CSS file. So let's continue. Let's see how it looks right now. Let's see how it changes. See, before it was like this. Now it changes into this. The color has changed, including the border. It has added a border, and around the border is red. I've defined this. As you can see, the color is brown, border 1 pixel, and solid and red. Now I can also change the border radius. Let's see here. That is this right here that you see, the corners. I can add a circular motion to them. Let me see. 10 pixels. I can reshape the corners. Let's see here to make it give it a you know, update style or whatever it may be, that nice style that you may see on Facebook when you leave a comment. Those that particular looking a border. Let me see here. You can change it as much as you want right here. What is another style? Let's see, padding. Padding will place space around this area. Around this particular paragraph, it'll place space around it. So let's see here. I'll put 10 pixels, and you will notice how it changes. Let's see here. Watch the space that's being placed around the border. As you can see right here, you see how it looks. And then you see, as you notice, it doesn't affect anything else because I've placed the closing bracket right here, div, and the rest of the text, the rest of the post isn't even touched because I've closed it off from the rest. Now if I kept this open, it would affect the rest of this right here, the rest of the text. So that's basically what inline CSS is. Okay, inline CSS is basically defining CSS within the post, within your post, and not changing the entire post, the entire website CSS settings. Okay, so let me see, what else can we do? There are several things we can do. We can change the font size to, let's say, 20 pixels. And I have to just memorize these elements. So that's the reason why I can just if you study the documentation, like I said before, study the documentation, and you can and within an hour's time you can learn CSS yourself and begin doing the same thing that I'm doing. Learn HTML as well. But that's pretty much it. That's all CSS inline is. It's just basically defining CSS within a post, within a property, whatever property that you would like to change. If it's a H2 tag, right, like for right here, this is a H2 tag. Just remember to place style equals and the quotation marks right here, and place whatever elements you want to change about this particular property. Okay. My name is Jermaine. Thank you all for joining me, and join me in the next tutorial. Remember to visit me at webhostingthrone.com or simply Google web hosting throne. Okay. If you found me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the future. Thanks for visiting